Today I want to speak to the heroes of the resistance. When France surrendered to Germany in 1940, life continued as normal for most French people. But as the Germans and collaborating Vichy French regime began to use more intimidating and brutal tactics, small groups formed. They comprised people from all walks of life dedicated to actively resisting the aims of the regime. The French resistance played a major role in helping the Allied advance after D-Day, but more importantly, it did much to restore a sense of pride in the French people after they'd been so battered and humiliated by ruthless, domineering rulers. Now, 80 years later, in 2021, we're again under an increasingly ruthless and intimidating government, one which controls all the instruments of government, especially the media. Today is the deadline for essential workers to receive their first so-called vaccine. The many businesses dealing with the public now face fines of $100,000 and more if they allow unvaccinated people to come into their workplace. So henceforth, more than 1 million workers, if they wish to keep their jobs, will now have to show proof they've received the poison. The Victorian government is turning employers against employees and the vaccinated against the unvaccinated. They're following the long-standing principle of divide and conquer, so popular among dictators and despots. They're dialling up the fear to fever pitch to justify a violation of human rights against people who only want the right to protect their own bodies and their future health against assault from a deadly weapon. Once again, there are small groups of heroes and heroines ready to resist this evil regime. It is to you, heroes and heroines, that I address this message. I'm in awe of the courage you're showing. Compared to you, I had it easy. I had to resign, but I was at the end of my career. Many of you are at the beginning or the middle of yours. Today, a corrupt government is dictating you lose your job or close shop if you're self-employed. You'll be treated as a pariah by your government. You'll be thrown out of work and banned from restaurants, pubs, theatres, entertainment and travel. The propaganda will say such unjust measures are being done to protect those who are vaccinated, but we all know the true reasons are far darker and more evil. In resisting this nefarious plot to control the population, you run the risk of being treated as a leper by friends and family who've been vaccinated. It's not personal, it's just that the media has generated hype and fear by telling everybody that COVID-19 is a disease of the unvaccinated. If friends and family members are bought into that, they're scared they might catch it from you. Some applaud the way the media is trying to force you to toe the line and the punishments they're using to try and break you. People are fear for their life, and fear brings out the worst in human nature. Despite these threats, you've chosen to follow your heart and your intuition. Your heart does know the way. Following your heart is the only road to happiness. You choose your careers, friends, partners, hobbies, and everything that's meaningful in your lives with your heart. The word courage stems from an old French word, corps, meaning heart. Whenever you take risks to follow your heart, your inner strength and your confidence grows. It also leads to the best outcome. The old expression, luck favours the brave, is true. It works. Now you've been given little option but to take some time off. However, I wouldn't count on it being a long holiday. For a start, these mandates are illegal. Even if government are using emergency powers to override your basic human rights, those powers violate international law. There'll be legal challenges to them and the government will lose them. However, the main reason it will not be an extensive holiday is that you're all going to be needed. Contrary to what you are hearing, this pandemic is a disease of the vaccinated, not the unvaccinated. There is going to be much illness. Experts in the fields of immunology, pathology and epidemiology are forecasting that illness and death from the vaccine will dwarf that of the pandemic. It is already happening and it's going to get worse. Mind you, if you're feeling anxious, you can be sure those issuing the orders, restricting the doctors and muzzling the scientists will be in even greater stages of panic. Mass vaccination was meant to cut down the rate of infection and create herd immunity, allowing life to return to normal. Instead, it's going 180 degrees in the opposite direction. Despite 87% of Victorians having had at least one jab, Yesterday, October the 14th, we had 2,293 cases, the highest number of COVID cases in Australia's history. Governments say they're following science, but they haven't done so. If they had, they would have followed the leading scientists who showed them how to treat this disease last year. In India, Uttar Pradesh, their largest state with 241 million people, did follow the guidance. Their government organised an army of healthcare workers to test for COVID and bring an inexpensive package of vitamins, antibiotics and ivermectin to their people. They have now succeeded in eradicating COVID-19. They have less than 200 cases and have declared their state COVID-free, despite having only 5.8% of their population vaccinated. AHPRA and the TGA have banned ivermectin's use for COVID in Australia, and our mainstream media have made efforts to suppress news of the Indian state's success. But the truth is getting out. Of greater threat to the narrative is reality. A British undertaker expected mass deaths from the pandemic in 2020, but they never arrived. Once vaccination started, businesses boomed. Last week, official figures for deaths in the UK proved him correct. From August the 20th to September 17th, the number of deaths in 2021 were between 11 and 12 times the number of deaths in 2020. Today, thanks to our chat group contributors, I learnt that Trinidad and Tobago had an overall total of 145 deaths in the first year of the pandemic, up until April the 2nd of this year when vaccination started. Then in the 4 months to August the 13th, they had 1,022 deaths. This is in proportion 20 times the normal rate of death, or the rate of death in the first year of the pandemic. Surely these figures are way beyond any random statistical variation. This drug is killing people. Large numbers of deaths are probably occurring in all countries where there is mass vaccination, but spin is still masking the truth. These days, the media here in Victoria describe those in hospital who've had one jab as unvaccinated. It's an effort to increase the fear and massage the figures, but there's only so much lipstick you can put on a pig. Eventually people are going to see the truth. A friend of my nephew died recently of a heart attack at 41. He reacted badly to his first Pfizer jab and died 2 days after his second. As more people start seeing people they know getting sick, they'll awaken to a stark reality. And when 80 to 90% of Australians over the age of 12 discover they've been cheated out of their health and longevity, the anger is likely to be ferocious, but at least it is likely to go towards more appropriate targets than towards the unvaccinated. Everybody should have the right to follow their own unique path in life. Yet that is what so many people have been denied by pharmaceutical companies, governments, medical authorities and media who've been corrupted by money sourced from ultra-wealthy sources who veil themselves in secrecy. For many, the fear of what sort of damage the vaccine might do to them is likely to replace their fear of the virus. For some, these fears will materialise. Much support and healing will be needed. There will be plenty of work for healthcare workers. It will be your time to help the many people who've had their health stolen from them. Love and compassion is what heals. Not only will we be seeing broken people, but broken families. We also have a broken country to heal. Only by coming together to mend our wounds will we retrieve that sense of equal rights, equal opportunity, fair go and mateship that Aussies have traditionally been so proud to identify with. I don't know of any group of people better situated to help rebuild our people, our families, our nation and our world than those who work in the caring professions. Once again, I want to express my gratitude to you all for the way you've rallied to a cause, the way you're gathering all the ammunition from around the globe, and above all, for standing your ground and providing active resistance to tyranny. You're the heroes of the resistance of 2021. I salute you.